everybody, this is Cherise from Sher from 2000. Welcome back to another video. And in this video, I haven't done one of these things in a long time. I don't think since last year. So better late than never. This time I'll be sharing my thoughts about a recent Disney movie that sparked a lot of controversy. Disney's Wish. Wish is directed by Chris Buck and Fawn Veerasunthorn. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. I'm so bad with names. The music score is by Julia Michaels, Dave Metzger, Benjamin Rice, and J.P. Sack. So the movie is basically about the 17-year-old girl named Asha. She is kind of like the storyteller about telling the story of roses and how it came to be. And she wishes upon a star because she feels that the wishes are not all being granted by King Magnifico, who is the villain of the movie. Stars Ariana DeBose. Basically the protagonist. She wishes upon star for better and for worse. We'll get to that. Chris Pine is King Magnifico. He is the ruler of roses. He's the wish maker, but he kind of has some devious things about his wish making. Angelique Cabell as Queen Amaya, Magnifico's wife. She's a little worried about how he's using his powers, how Magnifico is using his powers. Victor Garber is Sabino or Saba, Asha's grandfather. He made a wish that he wanted to be a musician, but his wish has yet to be granted. And that kind of what drives Asha to wish upon star. And then Natasha Rothwell as Sakina, Asha's mother. And then you have Asha's friends, who are basically the 7 dwarves from Snow White and the 7 Dwarves. Jennifer Kumiyama as Dahlia, Asha's best friend. She's also the royal baker, and she's basically the leader of the teens. She's basically Doc. Harvey Gillian as Gabo. He's the petite boy. He is very cynical. He's based off of Grumpy. He's a bit of a pessimistic. Nico Vargas as Hal. She's the happy one of the group. Evan Peters is Simon. He's sleepy because plot that I will explain later. Rami Youssef as Safi. He's the one that has allergies, so he's basically the sneezy of the group. John Radisky as Dario. He is basically the dopey of the group. And then Della Saba as Bazima. She's the bashful. She's the shy one of the group. So the movie grossed $249.7 million worldwide against a budget of $175 to $200 million. And, well, let's just say this movie has a lot of interesting things that I will be sharing my thoughts on. It's mostly mixed, but also mostly negative reviews about this movie. Only 48% on Rotten Tomatoes. So, yeah. I guess it's time for me to share my thoughts. My conflicting thoughts about this movie, because this movie made me feel very conflicted. Oh, by the way, I have Asha here in doll form. But I remember when they first announced the movie, and I believe Ariana performed this wish to the audience. It's kind of like a little sneak preview and showing like the different art styles and who was involved. And like I said, I was pretty excited about it. And then the trailer, or like the teaser trailer, dropped, and I was still intrigued. Actually, before that, I saw posters. And as soon as I saw King Magnifico, Chris Pine's character, I knew he was going to be the villain. He had that smirk, you know, like that villain smirk, how they always do a little smirk thing. I knew he was immediately going to be the villain. And when the teaser came out, it looked pretty interesting to me. Some people complain about the animation looking weird and stuff, trying to be kind of like Puss in Boots 2 and like the Spider-Verse movies, where it's like hand-drawn animation but mixed with 3D at the same time. Me, I thought it looked cute. It kind of reminded me of like watercolors. And then more information came out, and that's when I started getting worried. And then I've heard all the news about the movie bombing pretty hard. And here we are right now. I forgot to mention, I actually took notes while watching the movie. And this wasn't going to be out on Disney Plus yet, so that's why I wanted to write it down just in case if I forget. So, like I said, I have 4 parts to the movie on what I felt were the biggest problems, and they are the soundtrack, the animation, the characters, and the plot itself. So, the first thing I'm going to talk about is the soundtrack, because I feel like not a lot of people are complaining about it too much. I mean, there's still a lot of complaints about the soundtrack, but it's very minimum. There's 8 songs, including 1 reprise. So there's really 7, but This Wish had a reprise. I listened to the soundtrack multiple times, and I even saw it during the movie where I got better context. And overall, personally, I thought the soundtrack was kind of meh. It wasn't like the spectacular, grand, like, oh, this is gonna be remembered, everyone's gonna start singing it, like how this franchise behind me cultivate that. I felt it was too poppy, probably because the songwriters are known to be like pop musicians instead of like Broadway, because you have like Alan Menken and freaking Lin-Manuel Miranda and all the others. Like, when they write the songs, because they had a lot of Broadway experience, it feels Broadway. Like, you can like go out and stand and sing to your heart's content. With this one, I feel like you can listen it to more on the radio. Needless to say, there's been songs from Disney, like this one right here, that's played all the time on the radio. I just felt like it was kind of meh. My least favorite song from the movie was I'm a Star. I don't know, it was cute, but it didn't really stick with me. It was nice to see some familiar voices that were part of the song, where all the animals start talking, including Valentina, because Star puts its little stardust on everything, and everything comes to life, and it's like, what are you? I'm a star. I can go very far, blah blah blah. The main song, This Wish, it's growing on me. When I first listened to it, I was like, it's okay. Now it's growing on me. I think Ariana, because of her Broadway-esque background, she sings beautifully. However, again, I feel like it's too poppy, and there's just something off about the song. I think some of the lyrics are a little too wordy. Like, I got reservations and hesitation to step in my toes dipped in, something like that. I feel that's like a mouthful. That is way too much to say. And then, like, so I make this wish to have something more simpler than this. Like, it doesn't really rhyme. Again, like I said, there's just something off about the song. I felt, honestly, it could have probably worked more as like an end credit song and then do something else with it. I think most people's favorite song from the movie is kind of a tie with At All Costs and Knowing What I Know Now. Me, I like Knowing What I Know Now just a little bit more because it's kind of like a battle song, and it felt like a legit Disney song. It wasn't poppy. It felt like an actual Disney song, like they were going into battle. But I feel majority of the people like At All Costs, and that relationship between Magnifico and Asha both lost something dear to them, and it sounded like a lullaby. Their voices mesh well together. It's actually really sweet. And then Magnifico, oh, maybe that's my least favorite song. I'm gonna replace I'm a Star with This Is the Thanks I Get. I'm sorry. And I love Chris Pine. I love Chris Pine. I mean, if you see my Rise of the Guardians video, I praised him so many times on that video. But oh my gosh, This Is the Thanks I Get. I felt like he was struggling with that song. He's like, this is the things I get. This is the things I get. I'm like, oh my god, I felt so bad for him. It really reminds me of You're Welcome from Moana. Again, maybe because it kind of had that Lin-Manuel Miranda vibe. I think that's what they were trying to go with, but it's definitely a hit and miss. Honestly, he's a very intriguing villain most people think otherwise. We'll get to that part later. But, I mean, yeah, it was okay. And then all the other songs, like Welcome to Roses, I just felt was too similar to the Family Magical from Encanto, which that was released like less than like 2 years ago at the time. And I don't know, it was still fresh in my mind mainly because I watched that movie so many times. Mainly for We Don't Talk About Bruno, of course. But overall, again, I think the soundtrack was kind of meh. Like I said before, I don't think the animation's that bad. It's different. Some people might think it's a bad different, but I don't think it's that bad. Like I said, it's like watercolors. Like it's coming out of a storybook, and as you say in the movie, I actually wrote on here, reference to older movies like Snow White, Cinderella. Give us a storybook feel vibe in the animation. Like you're opening up and it's like the colors and like the watercolors are like coming to life. Some people had a problem with it. Maybe because it didn't look right. And I think nowadays, people are trying to mix 2D and 3D together. Sometimes it works. Again, Puss in Boots 2, The Bad Guys, the Spider-Verse movies. And then you got movies like this. Oh boy, this is where the conflicting thoughts come in. Because this is where people complained a lot about this movie. Nowadays, it seems like Disney has been using their female heroines as kind of like quirky, awkward. I really think they started off, you can argue, when they started doing this trend. Some people will say like Rapunzel, some people will even say earlier than that. I think mainly Rapunzel and or Anna from Frozen. You know, this chick behind me right here. I think that's when they really started the whole quirky trend where, you know, they're kind of awkward, they're a little funny and weird. Asha, who is kind of like the spokesperson of Rosa's, greeting people coming all over to get their wishes made. And that's where, you know, Welcome to Roses comes in. She kind of definitely shows her quirkiness. When she first interacted with Magnifico, he was asking her a series of questions. She was being interviewed. And she definitely showed her quirkiness. It was like, well, I can be this, and I can kind of be like that. Like, she was like listing off her weaknesses first, instead of her strengths. Like, even before that, when she was talking with Dahlia, she was displaying a lot of quirkiness. And sometimes that can kind of be a hit and a miss. Probably when I go over with the plot, I think that could kind of change a little bit. And then, you got her friends, and how I feel, I know Asha's friends represent the 7 dwarves, but they're kind of one-dimensional. With the exception of Dahlia. Dahlia is the royal baker. She's Asha's best friend, so obviously she's going to get more character development. The other 6, not so much. They basically are kind of a bit one-noted to me. Gabbo, the petite short one, he's always grumpy. You got the happy one. You got the sleepy one, which Simon, I knew immediately, spoilers, that he was going to betray the group somehow. I don't know if it's because I watched too many of the TV spots or commercials. I just got that vibe from him that someone in her friend group is going to betray everybody. It was him. Like, yeah. You know, you got the dopey one, you got the sneezy one, you got the shy one. The shy one's barely in the movie, like, God. I mean, it's nice to pay homage, but like, I need to put a little bit more effort. Valentino kind of grew on me. Kind of reminded me of Olaf from Frozen, but I kind of like Olaf a little bit more, because, again, it's Olaf. And now, for me, my biggest problem, kind of gripe, with characters is Magnifico and Amaya. I truly think Amaya should have been a villain. I'm sorry. It just made sense for Amaya to be a villain. Yeah, she could probably get redeemed in the end. I don't care if she does that. But she really, truly should have been a villain. We could have had a villain couple, for God's sake. But I felt like they played it too safe. And it kind of would have paid homage to, like, the Evil Queen or Mother Gothel. I felt like they could have made her a villain. So when it comes with the Disney villains, it's been a while since we had a true, legitimate Disney villain. I think the last time, at least in the Disney, you're not counting Pixar, was like, technically Tamatoa, but he was more of like a secondary villain, not like the main villain. So maybe King Candy was the last true legitimate villain. And then we started getting like plot twist villains and generation versus generation villains, where they're not really villains, but they kind of don't really have good intentions for the main characters. And while that's really nice, what I like about Disney is the hero and villain aspect. And with Wish, yes, you can argue, character-wise, they kind of could have been a little bit better. But Magnifico, we had an actual villain. I mean, some people would argue that he really isn't the villain, that this one here is, because she wants to change everything. May not be one of the greatest villains, but I'm glad we got a villain. I think people's main problem with this movie is the plot. Yes, you can argue the characters, but I think what really irked a lot of people was the plot. So, allegedly, I don't know if this is true or not, Disney used AI to write this movie. Again, someone can correct me in the comments if it's true or not, but allegedly they used AI. This was probably during COVID, so they didn't really have any writers. Also, probably with the strike that happened, it kind of took a punch with Disney. And I saw a lot of people complaining about this section, particularly in so many videos. I've seen original concept art of how the movie was supposed to kind of go, where Asha was a princess, and I guess Magnifico and Maya were like her parents. They were evil, and she wanted to do something better for her country, her kingdom. And Star wasn't supposed to be like an actual star, but more like a shapeshifter. Like how in Aladdin, Genie shapeshifts in a lot of things, or Sisu from Raya, she can turn from a dragon to a human. Star was supposed to be like that. And I think Star and Asha were supposed to be like a couple. Asha still wished upon a star, when you wish upon a star. And then Star is a mute character, kind of like, like Sandy from Rise of the Guardians, how he expresses himself through, like Pictionary with like images. I think that's how Star was supposed to be when he interacted with all the other characters, especially with like Asha. And this could have been like Asha's inspiration to change the way Roses was being run, and probably start off a little shy, a little submissive, and then gaining her confidence throughout the movie. Now that would have been a really great thing to do, honestly. I really would have loved to see how Wish would have turned out if they could have stuck with the original idea. And then the whole, like, from the movie, the final part, you have to be 18 years old to get your wish granted, or to make your wish, but certain wishes can be granted. Asha, because her grandfather was turning 100, he wants to be a musician, that's his wish. Magnifico thought his wish was too vague, and it could be potentially dangerous. Now, I do agree with some aspects to this. Wishes can be very vague, and wishes can be dangerous depending on who's making the wish. I think that's what Asha didn't really understand, but it made it pin to Magnifico turning into the bad guy. I think that's why people think that Asha is truly the villain instead of Magnifico, just because Magnifico made some points. Asha kind of becomes like the fairy godmother, like from Cinderella. I don't know if she is the fairy godmother or she's like the first fairy godmother, and she trains the fairy godmother from Cinderella to help make wishes. That's what they said at the end of the movie. It's like, hey, you're kind of like a fairy godmother. Because Disney celebrated its 100th anniversary, I truly believe a lot of people had high expectations for this movie. And they were let down. It was very disappointing. Conflicting. I'm kind of half and half. Yeah, it was a little disappointing, but I'm just glad we got the movie. But it could have been better. And because of the 100th anniversary, I felt when they were making all those references, like one commoner from the kingdom wanted to make dresses, kind of like Sleeping Beauty dresses. They made a lot of references, like the Seven Dwarfs and Zootopia, Peter Pan, or someone named Peter who wants to fly. Asha looked like a fairy godmother. When Magnifico was crushing all the wishes, he was kind of making references to other Disney villains like Ursula and Evil Queen, and his powers kind of look like Maleficent. I really truly think they rely too much. It kind of gets old, and it kind of gets repetitive, and it lessens the interest in the movie. Now, I will say, the one time I really did like when they were doing references is the end credits. They had one character from the animated movies since Snow White till Encanto, where they were making, they were kind of like in like a star kind of like constellation, and I actually really liked that. That was actually a really neat way to display the 100th anniversary. And then the post-end credits, Saba plays When You Wish Upon a Star. That's actually kind of cute too. But they relied way too much on the Disney references from the past. They could have just put little drops here and there and just let the movie be its own identity. You don't need to put so many references to be like, oh, hey, I remember this. Oh, I remember that. Because when you put too many references, what's the whole point of the movie? It's just like a big old reference book. So the ending of the movie, it's kind of like, it's alright. I feel like it could have been a little bit better. Pretty much, Magnifico gets all the wishes, and traps Star in his little scepter thing. Kind of reminded me of like Maleficent's scepter. And Asha's at her lowest point. She tries to get everyone to help her defeat Magnifico, stand up against him. I think at one point, when Simon betrayed the group, he ended up getting like mind controlled or whatever, because he used his wish and then did something with his staff. Yeah, just goodness, this movie really heavily relied on references. And I think that's really what hurt the movie a lot. The plot is just kind of like an afterthought. Again, I don't know if Disney used AI. I'm just going to say allegedly they use AI. It just kind of turned into this big old mess. Now again, I think this movie, it's okay for what it is, but it could have been better. Well guys, that is my review of Wish, and as you can see, I am in the costume of Asha. I even have Star, and if you press this button here, it actually glows. That's so cool. So while I don't think the movie is as bad as everyone says it is, I still think it's a little bit mediocre for Disney standards. So I'm probably gonna give it like 6, maybe a 5. Definitely right in the middle. Like I said, I don't think it's as bad as everyone says it is, but it could have been better, and that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Please do not burn me at the stake like Esmeralda from Hunchback of Notre Dame. Thank you. So, let me know what you guys think of Wish. I know this movie is so controversial. Everyone is like, we hate Wish, it's the worst Disney movie ever, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, let's try to be respectful here. Don't worry, I'll share some photos of me in this Asha dress on Instagram and Facebook, which is where you can find me. Instagram, Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter. Please like and subscribe to this channel. as well as my second channel, Share Your Creations. So until then, when you wish upon a star, hopefully it's not like this movie.